Dating after 60 often brings unexpected moments. The way women greet you when they haven't experienced intimacy for a long stretch of time reveals far more than many men ever realize. A lot of older men don't recognize that the first 5 seconds of her greeting can show more truth than anything she might explain later with words. A woman's hello is not simply politeness. Music, it's a quiet admission written through her body language, her voice, and the music amount of physical space she either opens or protects between you. When a woman has been without emotional or physical closeness for a long time, her energy tells the story before she ever speaks. The way she says hello, how long her smile lasts, the softness or guardedness in her eyes, none of these details happen by accident. They are signals, and when music you're paying attention, they reveal a great deal about her emotional inner world. Hi, it's Vernon again. In today's conversation, I'm going to share 4 psychological patterns in how women greet you when they've been missing intimacy, and what each one quietly communicates about her emotional state, her unspoken longings, and what she's expressing without using words. Before we move forward, do me a small favor. Tap the like button and subscribe to this channel so you don't miss future discussions about attraction psychology, emotional awareness, and relationships after music. 60. These subjects matter more than most people are willing to admit, and I'm glad you're here for them. Let's begin with the first one because it often catches men off guard when they music aren't expecting it. Sometimes a woman offers what I call an overly warm greeting. Touch comes before words. This happens when she reaches toward you, even before she fully says hello. It might be a hug that lingers just a second longer than usual. It could be a hand on your arm as she greets you, or standing slightly closer than necessary, even though a smile from a distance would have been enough. Her body arrives before her voice does. If you're not paying close attention, you might think she's simply being friendly, but that's rarely the whole story. This type of greeting often comes from emotional hunger she hasn't openly acknowledged. When a woman hasn't been touched with genuine affection and presence for a long time, her body begins craving connection in ways she may not consciously recognize. So when she sees you, someone familiar, someone she feels safe with, her instinct is to close the gap, not because she's deliberately flirting, but because she's trying to feel noticed again. The skin is the largest organ of the body, and as one psychologist once told me, it remembers. When intimacy fades away, the body keeps track of what's missing. It reaches outward, sometimes with a quiet urgency for even the smallest sense of closeness. Let me share a simple experience. A few years ago, I ran into an old colleague at a community gathering. Music, she greeted me with a hug that felt different. Warm, yes, but also weighted as if she were holding on to not just me, but the feeling of being held itself. We talked for about 10 minutes, and during that time she lightly touched my shoulder twice. Music, casual on the surface, but intentional. Later, I learned she had been living alone for 3 years. Her husband had passed away, and she wasn't searching for romance. She was searching for reassurance that she still mattered to someone. That brief touch music quietly said, "I miss being seen." Diane Ackerman once wrote, "We are not our best selves when no one touches us. Touch is the first language we learn and the last one we give up." When a woman greets you with warmth that feels a little too quick or slightly too eager, she isn't crossing boundaries, she's compensating. Her body is asking for what her voice doesn't yet feel safe enough to say. Remind me that I still exist. If this resonates, music, share this with a friend or in a space where these conversations matter. Understanding female psychology and subtle signals of attraction can completely change the way we connect with women, especially later in life. But not every woman greets you with warmth. Some greet with distance, not because she's uninterested, but because she's guarding what little emotional strength she still has. The more contained she appears, the more she may actually be carrying inside. That calm, careful greeting isn't emptiness. It's emotion held tightly, waiting for the right moment to surface. Have you ever met a woman whose greeting felt kind, yet something in you sensed she was holding music back? She smiles, she's polite, she might ask how you've music been, but her body stays just a step away. Her arms remain close to her sides. Her eyes meet yours briefly, then drift away like she's opening a door, just enough to peek through, but not enough to invite anyone inside. This is emotional self-P protection. When a woman has been overlooked, disappointed, or left emotionally starved, she learns to protect herself by offering friendliness without real vulnerability. Her smile becomes armor. Her politeness becomes a quiet barrier. She greets you not to deepen a bond, but to avoid the pain of being hurt again. Hemingway once said, "The most painful thing is losing yourself in music, the process of loving someone too much." And that is exactly what she fears. So she smiles gently, keeps her distance, and waits to see whether you approach with care rather than expectation. Music, and don't forget, you matter too. She hasn't forgotten that. She's safeguarding it. This kind of emotional caution is very common in people who spent years giving far more than they ever received. After enough disappointment, they start to associate openness with danger. Their nervous system learns to hesitate at closeness, to remain polite, pleasant, and controlled. Music W. Heil, quietly keeping love at arm's length. So when she greets someone new, her body carries a silent message. I want connection, but I don't trust what happens next. Many men misread that space as rejection when it's really fear wrapped in good manners. Her body language softly says, I'm here, but not fully. She isn't cold, she's careful. And the longer she's gone without intimacy, the thicker that invisible wall can become. As the poet wrote, your task is not to seek love, but to find the barriers within yourself, music that you have built against it. For her, that barrier isn't permanent. It's temporary protection until she feels safe again. Music, and sometimes behind that polite distance, something deeper is waiting. Loneliness can also hide behind laughter and constant talking. My sister Hazel, who's 67, once told me about a friend who hadn't been touched in years, not romantically, not affectionately, not even in small casual ways. Hazel said, this woman started every interaction too quickly, as if silence made her uncomfortable. This is the woman who greets you with words before breath. She jumps straight into conversation. She fills every moment with jokes, compliments, or extra chatter. She appears cheerful, maybe even bubbly, but if you watch closely, you'll notice she never allows quiet moments. She never lets you look too deeply. She's performing connection rather than actually feeling it. Music. This is emotional displacement, replacing intimacy with performance. When people are afraid to be vulnerable, they hide behind energy. When music, they crave closeness but don't know how to ask for it, they talk, they distract, they entertain because silence feels like exposure. Carl Jung once said, we speak to fill the empty space, not realizing that the empty space is where truth lives. She isn't trying to overwhelm you or dominate the conversation. She's trying to outrun the ache of feeling invisible. If she stops talking, she worries you'll stop noticing her. If she slows down, the loneliness she's been carrying catches up. I've seen this in women who live alone, women who've lost partners, music, or women who spent years in relationships where they felt emotionally unseen. The overly cheerful greeting is their way of saying, see me, I'm still here, I still matter. But beneath the laughter lives a quiet question. Music, would you stay if I stopped performing? This greeting isn't about attraction in the usual sense. It's about craving connection so deeply that she protects it at all costs. She keeps the energy high to prevent the moment from slipping away. Even if it exhausts her, she's showing up, you can feel that. But she doesn't yet know if silence is safe. Music, and sometimes the most honest greeting a woman can offer, isn't loud or animated at all. It's the quiet one, the one that says everything without sound. This is the greeting where her eyes speak before her mouth does, and it tells you far more than a flood of word. Ever music could. This is the kind of hello that makes you pause. She doesn't rush to speak. She doesn't cover the moment with chatter or forced warmth. Instead, she simply looks at you, really looks. Her eyes hold yours a little longer than usual. There's warmth there, but also something deeper. A trace of longing, a hint of absence, as if she's remembering something she once felt but hasn't experienced in a very long time. Silence music becomes her confession. The soul always knows how to heal itself. Caroline Myss once wrote, "The challenge is to quiet the mind. Dating after 60 is an entirely different emotional landscape than dating earlier in life. Music, by this age, people have lived through heartbreak, loss, long marriages, solitude, routine, and sometimes years of emotional neglect. Music and all of that history quietly shows up in the way someone simply says hello. So when a woman greets you, especially if she hasn't had emotional or physical intimacy music for a long time, her body responds before her mind has time to organize itself. That greeting becomes a window into everything she's been carrying music silently. Her tone, her eyes, the space she closes or carefully maintains all reveal layers of her story without her needing to say a single word. A woman who hasn't music felt truly seen in years approaches connection very differently than someone who has been consistently loved and emotionally held. She may linger a moment longer in a hug or he may avoid touch entirely. She may greet you with bright, slightly nervous chatter, or she may offer a quiet stillness that music speaks louder than words ever could. These small gestures are her way of testing whether trust is still possible. When she touches your arm, music, she isn't always flirting. Sometimes she's reaching out to remember what closeness feels like. When she pulls back just a little, it isn't rejection. It's caution shaped by experiences that taught her closeness can hurt. When she talks too quickly, music, she's trying to hide the fear that if she stops, she'll fade into the background again. And when she greets you with nothing but her eyes, it's because she's hoping you'll notice the parts of her she no longer knows how to explain. Many women over 60 carry both longing and hesitation at the same time. They want connection, but they're afraid of the emotional cost of opening up again. Years of loneliness can make even the simplest greeting feel heavy with meaning. A gentle smile can hold sorrow and hope simultaneously. A warm greeting can conceal a deep hunger for affection. A distant one can mask the fear of being wounded again. What appears simple on the surface is often shaped by everything she has lived through. Abandonment, music years spent caregiving, bereavement, long stretches of feeling invisible, or relationships where she gave deeply and received very little in return. This stage of life teaches people to protect themselves, but it also teaches them to value genuine connection more than ever before. Women who greet you with warmth are often craving touch they no longer receive. Women who greet with distance are guarding the last fragile pieces of their softness. Women who greet with constant chatter are trying to feel alive again. And women who greet with silence are hoping you'll notice their soul before you notice their words. If you learn to see these greetings for what they truly are, you begin to understand women not through age, appearance, or conversation, but through presence. And presence speaks louder after 60 than at any other time in life. When a woman greets you this way, it's often because she has felt emotionally numb for far too long. She doesn't know whether to move closer or pull away. Her soul hesitates before her body decides what to do. In that brief pause, she's asking a silent question. Can I still feel safe here? This is the greeting of a woman grieving lost intimacy. Not only physical closeness, but the feeling of being known, wanted, and valued without having to explain herself. When that's been missing, she forgets how to step into it again. So she waits, watches, and quietly checks the emotional temperature to see if trust is possible. I remember meeting a woman named Bella at a small gathering last year. She greeted me with a soft smile and a slight nod, but she didn't speak right away. Her eyes held mine for 3 or 4 seconds, long enough to notice and long enough to feel. Intentional. Music later, she admitted she hadn't had a meaningful conversation with a man in over a year, not because she didn't want one, but because she had forgotten how to begin. Sometimes, she said quietly, you lose the language of connection and you fear that if you try to speak it again, no one will understand you. That silent greeting was her way of saying, I'm here, but I'm tender right now, so meet her gently. When intimacy becomes softer, it can still be deeply meaningful. She isn't avoiding closeness, she's simply checking whether closeness is still possible. Music, and in that quiet moment, she's offering more of herself than you may realize. By now, it's clear that a greeting is never just a small act. It's a doorway into the story she carries and the walls she's slowly learning to lower after 60. Attraction psychology isn't loud or dramatic. Music, it lives in subtle details, in how she greets you, how long she remains present, how gently she withdraws. If you pay real attention, you'll begin to understand that female body language is a language of its own. It must be read with your full awareness, not just your eyes or your ears. As Anna Nin once said, we don't see things as they are. We see them as we are. So when a woman greets you in one of these ways, remember she isn't just showing up, she's revealing who she has become in the absence of intimacy. And that kind of revelation takes courage. Which of these greetings have you noticed most in your own life? Music. Were you the man who recognized the signals and responded with care, or the one who missed them? Share your thoughts in the music comments. Your experience may help another man understand what women often communicate without.